Hey there everybody, it's Cheyenne. So it's time again for me to talk about one of my favorite films, and today's movie is groovy. So yeah, as soon as I knew I was doing this list, I knew I was going to have to pick one of the Evil Dead movies to be in it. And it was really tricky because I love all of them. I love this series. I thought about cheating and putting them all together. And I figured if I was going to talk about the Evil Dead movies, that I had to pick the flick that basically brought me to the dance. And that movie is Army of Darkness. So Army of Darkness tells the story of our lone hero, Ashley J. Williams, who has been ripped from his own time after a traumatic brush with death and losing his one true love. And now must fight to find his way back home and get some sugar, baby. So yeah, Army of Darkness is probably my favorite of the three. Part of the reason Army of Darkness is my favorite is because it's the first one that I saw. I was maybe 11 or so. They used to play it on Sci-Fi a lot. I remember the first time that I really watched it the whole way through, I thought it was just the coolest movie I had ever seen in my life. So Army of Darkness is a sequel technically, and it is a continuation, but you also don't have to have seen either of the first two films to enjoy it, because basically the Evil Dead series is kind of a strange animal. So the first film is straight up horror, straight up, you know, low budget horror, so there's definitely some funniness to it. Horror that's campy but was being played straight within the film, to a horror comedy in Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 has scares and laughs and silly bits and references the Three Stooges and all of that. And then Army of Darkness kind of takes a big old left turn into like action adventure territory. It's very much a different animal than the other two, but they're all kind of different animals from each other, which is part of what I love about the series as a whole. But the film that I like the best is Army of Darkness. It's got this thing where it's both really amazing and cool and like grandiose, but it's also just freaking hilarious. And at least for me, the thing that does that for me is Ash himself, Ashley J. Williams, played by my bae, Bruce Campbell. Be still my heart. He's this kind of really interesting character to me because he's this combination of, like, on the one hand, he is the sort of apotheosis, like the very peak of, you know, this 80s swaggering, square-jawed, you know, action hero that always has the one-liners and always gets the girl, you know. But on the other hand, he's a selfish, cowardly fuck-up. He's silly and he's funny, but he's so cool, and the way that the two intersect is just always really interesting to me, because like the movie will get to this really amazing point where all this cool stuff is gonna happen, and then he'll fuck it up. Ash is always fucking shit up, and it shouldn't work. It shouldn't all go together and be cohesive, but for me at least it is. It's like this silly wild ride. I have two separate distinct copies of this movie because I'm a weirdo. I have the Screwhead edition on Blu-ray, and then I have the director's cut official bootleg edition, which I think is the funniest. Like, that's just the funniest cover ever. You know, this one has a really great commentary track with Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi. One of the things that I think is just the funniest thing in the world that's from that commentary track is there's this scene in the film where Ash is facing off against his evil doppelganger, and his evil doppelganger is like making fun of him and calling him a little goody two-shoes, and in this really silly voice, and apparently that particular really silly voice is Bruce Campbell's Sam Raimi impression. I think that's just the funniest thing. I've cosplayed Ash. I do like a lady version of Ash, so I do Ashton G. Williams instead of Ashley J. Williams. I got to meet Bruce Campbell once, and he was really cool, and he was dressed really snazzily, and I almost fainted. I like lost the ability to words. And I also met one of my very best friends because of this movie. We met in the photo line for Bruce Campbell at Kamikaze a couple of years ago, and we were both dressed up as Ash, and now he's one of my very best friends. He's a much better Ash than me because, you know, he has the chin and he's a guy. So yeah, Army of Darkness is just really, really fun. Now, if you're someone who's not necessarily a horror fan, you can still watch Army of Darkness because Army of Darkness is fun and silly and lighthearted. There's some very minor gore, but even that gore is over the top, like red tempera paint kind of thing where you can't even like be frightened by it, and most of the time their main antagonists are skeletons. Like, this movie is so fun and silly. It'll go from a really drawn out, funny, silly Three Stooges bit to one of the most epic sword fights you've seen in your life. But yeah, it's just one of my absolute favorite movies. I love it to pieces. I watch it on average at least once a month. It's just one of those movies that I watch it and it instantly makes me happy. So what do you guys think of Army of Darkness? Did I make the wrong choice picking this to be my Evil Dead surrogate on the list? What's your favorite Ash quote? Put it in the comments below. Alright, you primitive screwheads. Be sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you later.